My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today, the message that I want to convey to you is this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. In fact, you feeling this way is actually a great indicator that things are working exactly the way they're supposed to work. Now, before I get into all of that, I want to remind you, if you're not already part of our Facebook community, come join us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/groups/path of the network marketer. A great place for you to find support on, on your entrepreneurial journey, especially as you take your business online using social media and online marketing, but also a place for you to find support in your personal development and in your own growth journeys, right? Part of this whole entrepreneurial venture requires that we all grow beyond where we currently are in our own development, and so that can be very, very scary. And again, this community that we're creating, that we're building together on Facebook, serves that purpose to help support you as you grow through these potentially challenging times, right? So again, come join us on there. I go live 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on my schedule. However, you're going to find a lot of great content there. Also, again, a lot of great support. So it's facebook.com/groups/path of the network marketer. I'll put the link in the show notes of this episode. Okay, so getting into the topic, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. I was inspired to do this topic today for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was just recently listening to an episode of Motivation with Brendon Burchard. I'll put the link of that episode in the show notes of today, of this episode. But I was also inspired by an answer I received in the group page on our Facebook community. I have a questionnaire there before when you request to join the community. One of the questions is, what is the biggest roadblock standing in your way to massive success in your business? A recent answer that came in was me. That was it, one word, me. And I want to acknowledge this and say, number one, that's absolutely correct. Like, that is 100% the right answer, right? And it's awesome. It's awesome to acknowledge that, because when you acknowledge that you are the biggest roadblock in any case, whether it's skill set, whether it's proficiency in specific tools and platforms and marketing, et cetera, whether it's personal growth, whether it's personal development, whether there's some things that you need to work on that are holding you back. The only real correct answer to what's holding you back in your business is 100% you. So that's great that you acknowledge that individual acknowledged that. What can happen then is really, really awesome, because that there's a level of taking responsibility. And then what you can do is, if you acknowledge that you're the roadblock, then you can get to work addressing those things that you need to build on in order to expand into that next phase of your business. Again, whether it's skill sets, whether it's personal development and personal growth. The drawback, though, is that in that answer, in that acknowledgement, as instead of responsibility can come judgment. That's the fork in the road. With the judgment, it can look like, okay, since I'm the roadblock, I must not be good enough. Since I'm the roadblock, I must not be worthy. Or, I just don't have what it takes. I don't have the ability. Yeah, Ronnie can do it. He's awesome, but I can't, because that's just not me. I'm not awesome. And I want to let you know that's not true at all. That is not true at all. That's just you, being judgmental of yourself. And the reality is that you're doing this because everything is working the way it's supposed to work, right? And I'm going to talk about like our minds and the amazing abilities that our minds have to create the outcomes that we want to create. And that if you're in a place in your life, in your business, that you're not creating the results that you want to create necessarily, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It just actually means that your brain is working, but it's working under either incorrect parameters or outdated parameters that are no longer serving you. Here's how the brain works. The brain primarily, right? Like the overarching kind of function of our brain is to keep us alive, to keep us safe. And when we go into into uncharted territory, when we try new things, when we go into learning, for example, online marketing and social media marketing and all these things that even for me completely foreign 12 months ago, right? the brain is going to resist that because change is scary, change is dangerous, change, our brains feel like it, and are under the programming, old programming. This is like, ancient programming that's hardwired into our brains. Change equals potential death, right? And so these feelings, these judgments that you have of yourself when you admit that you're the roadblock, are these judgments are, yeah, correct English, I was going to say is, but these judgments are your brain keeping you from making changes, right? Right? So in that sense, your brain is working perfectly because it's working to keep you safe. Now, if you want new outcomes, of course, then you got to break out of that somehow. And the way to break out of that is to input new parameters into your brain, into this computing system, right? And to do that, it's really very, very simple. I'm not going to go too deep into it today, but there's a couple of steps. Number one, create a vision for your life, right? This is long-term. This is big vision, not necessarily a deadline, but you want to create a vision of what you want your life to look like, right? That ideal life that you've always dreamt of having, the way you feel, the things that you imagine having in your life, that gigantic big vision, right? The second thing, after you create that big vision, is come up with outcomes, right? Like these outcomes that you want along the way that are going to get you towards that big vision. Whether it's, a certain level of income in your network marketing business, whether you want to be one of the top earners in your company, whether you want to set an annual sales goal for your business or hit a certain rank. These outcomes and results are over time will be the things that actually lead you to the fulfillment of your longer term vision, of the vision that you want of your life. And then after that, it's just as simple as, getting to work and developing the skill sets and the habits that will lead to the achievement of these results and outcomes that you set for yourself. Again, there's nothing wrong with you. You have the capability within you to do these things. The only reason why people get stuck with the same results and outcomes over and over again in their life is because, it's because the programming is doing exactly what it's designed to do, and that is to keep you safe. But now that you know how that mechanism works, what we can do and should do, especially if we want new and different outcomes in our lives, is get to work being intentional and purposeful about the parameters that we're allowing into our supercomputing minds, the parameters that we're allowing into this machinery. And so you have to remind yourself of these things every day: the vision, the outcomes, and then the skill sets that you need to acquire, the habits that you need to develop in order to make all of that happen. Right? Do it every day. Again, the reason why people are stuck with the same results over and over again in their lives is because the machinery is working and they're not getting to work every day to reprogram, to put in new parameters in that computing system. Attending one event one time is not going to change things, right? Listening to one audio book or this episode of the podcast is not going to change things. You actually have to do the work outside of this with yourself, right? Every day. And so if you really are frustrated with where you are in life, if you're hitting your head against the wall like I was for many years, understand that everything is working the way it's supposed to work and nothing is wrong with you. All you have to do is remind yourself every day of your vision, of the outcomes and results that you want to create in your life, and the habits and skill sets you need to develop in order to achieve those outcomes and results. That's my message for you today. Now, if you haven't already followed the show, go ahead and hit that plus sign at the top of whatever app you happen to be listening on. And if you feel so inclined, please share this episode, right? Hit that screen capture and share on any platform you feel like sharing. Tag me if you want to tag me. Chances are if you found value in today's episode, somebody else will. And then beyond that, more to come from me tomorrow. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.